So one of these is going to fix that problem. Hey, this is John Young here. We are looking at a little problem with our cold air, or the air exchange system. The insulated pipe has a little, they put a little strapping around it, and they had screwed it up into the sheetrock up in the ceiling here, and it has come down. Now, all it was basically a 1/4 inch little screw. They ran it in there, and the threads held it in the sheetrock, but that gave way. This is a garage that we're in right now, so we're talking it's 5/8 rock, and that can hold for a period of time, but it's not indefinite. Now, it probably got up into a stud here. So what I'm going to need to do now is either put a longer one in to get into the stud, or we're going to talk anchors today. Anchors, if you're not familiar, this is when you need to run a screw into a wall or into something like sheetrock that will allow you to attach the screw and have more holding power. The biggest area where this is used in most homeowners is they're putting in, getting a little older, and you're putting in a safety handle. If you're going to put a handle in, I just installed one actually for my mother-in-law at the top of her stairs, and we only had sheetrock. We didn't have studs, so we used an anchor. Now, there's a variety of different anchors, and I'm going to kind of go through a few of these to help you with that. I've got some kits here, and I'll put links in the description so you can go and check these out. Now, the anchor, generally they come with some sort of a screw. Now, sometimes these screws that are with the anchors are worth using, and most of the time they are. There's occasionally some anchors that are cheap ones. When it comes to like the handles on some things where you're going to be putting those on and you're using an anchor system, sometimes the screws that come with it are not that great. So if you can find one in an anchor kit that it matches and fits and looks decent, that might be the way to go. There are different types of anchors. Like this particular one is one where it's to go through the sheetrock, and it's really holding it will catch this and squeeze down like that. And really what this one is doing is it's holding the back side. The anchor, as the screw goes through, it really doesn't expand as it goes through. So in order to use this one, we would need to go and drill a hole through the sheetrock, or the medium that we're going to be using, push this through the hole, and then we start the screw, and it will catch and it will pull it tight, and now it's holding on the back side. The pressure's on the back side. Another type of anchor, these are probably the most common that we see, is we drill the hole and we push this into the hole. Now, this particular one is going to hold on the sides of the hole. As the screw goes in, it expands it, and it makes it so it's going to fit tight in a hole. You're probably on an anchor like this that's pulling from behind compared to one that is just holding in the hole. This is going to give you probably one of the least amounts of strength to hold your project. And there's different sizes of those anchors. There's some tiny ones for smaller applications. I've got, just in this kit, there's 3 different sizes. I think I throw in some extra. So there's a variety. If you're doing something like a tiny shelf, or you hanging a picture, those would probably work fine. Then when it comes time to take those out and fix the hole, you take the screw out, or and then you pull the plastic out and do a little mud patch, and you're good to go. Now we're going to look at some a little more advanced anchors here. I've got another kit. Let's bring this one out. This is getting into a little bit stronger anchors that are meant for a few different applications. We have, of course, the common one that we just talked about. But now there's some additional anchors. This particular one is a metal version. So if you're drilling into like a concrete block, this would be an option, because this would go into the concrete block, and as you tighten that screw, it's going to pull this together, and it's going to hold on the sides, but it's going to dig into that concrete just a little bit more, as the metal is. If you did this in sheetrock and you really started to torque on it, it's going to probably crack your sheetrock. So these would be used for more of a concrete. And there's a variety of different sizes available. That was a little bit larger. There are some smaller ones of those. This particular one's a 2-part one. It has a little wing, and it has the longer bolt. And what this one does is you drill through the medium, the wall. Generally, it could be a concrete block. It could, getting into the center of a block. It could be a variety of things. You drill that little bit larger hole, and you push this through, and then as you tighten it up, the little wing opens up, and then you can snug it, and this is pulling against a wider area. This one with the right wall, say if you're using cement board or something, if you use something like this, it's going to give you the most strength, and it's got a longer screw with that one. There's some some smaller versions that we showed you earlier, where this one would also would push into the back or push through, and the little screw would pull into it, and it was going to kind of grip on the sides. So there's just a variety. Now I've got these kits, but the one I use probably the most when it comes to sheetrock is, and this particular one is just Easy Anchor. Many companies many companies have this, and what this particular is one that you kind of screw in to the board. Now you don't need to drill a pilot hole with this one, goes into sheetrock actually. But what it'll do is you start this in. It kind of is a self-tapping. You can see there's a point. You know where you want to go. You screw this in with a screwdriver, and then we're going to try to use this one. But I think there's a stud there, so it's not going to work for us. But I want to show you how it would work. We're going to go in, and we would screw this in, and it gets to the point where it goes all the way to the face of it, and this becomes flat into the sheetrock. So you have these threads that are gripping into the sheetrock. Now this particular one, this is the one I used installing safety handles, because in a typical safety handle you're getting 3 screws on each end. This particular is saying it can handle 75 pounds of pressure. Well, if we're putting 3 screws on each end, let's even take it down to 50 pounds. So that's 150 pounds of torque on one end. So 300 pounds total, which it's going to be more than that because of the this is 75 instead of that. So for most people, that's going to give you a secure handle using an anchor like this. So I'm going to demonstrate how you would do this. Typically when I'm going to do something like this and I'm going into sheetrock, I will do a pilot hole with a screw or maybe a small bit. I don't want to get crazy with that, but I want to get a little bit of a hole in there just to make it a little easier. You just take a standard screwdriver, nothing fancy, and you would line it up with the hole, and you just crank it in. I hit the stud. So this one is actually into a stud. So to fix this particular application, I can't use this, but all you do is just continue to screw it in. Once you screw it in, there's a nice spot there. You can run a screw that's in the kit, or you could use many different types of drywall screws, what have you, and secure this. In this particular case, I would have gone through and run this right down and it would have all been nice and tight, but I'm hitting too much of a stud. So I'm going to have to get a longer screw on that one, and that's going to fix this application. But if I didn't have that capability, if they missed the stud, this anchor would have been the way to go. So I'm going to grab a longer screw, and we'll do this one and show you that, hey, it actually does work sometimes, that when you run into a stud, you can put a longer screw to make it work. So we're going to take the old one out, put the new screw in, and make it simple and easy. So we're going to back this out. And again, they're just using a really quite simple little screw, nothing fancy there at all. So this is one I removed, and I'm going to replace it with basically a repurposed screw. This is one we did a shingling job. We have shingles that we were doing that are a screwed down shingle, a deck roof. So I have one, and it's like, you know what? Let's repurpose it. So it's an easier fix than I thought it was going to be. I could have done a more advanced repair if it would have needed an anchor. I'm going to show you though. I'm going to pull this anchor out, because for some folks, this is might be a little confusing. Again, envision you just screw this in. It's flat. This is flush with the sheetrock. You don't want to dimple it in. You want to take it basically so it's flat with the sheetrock, and then the screw would just go in here with whatever you're going to be holding. And if you're going to be doing something like this for even holding a big picture, you can certainly do that. This could be used for television mounts if you have multiple. You can't hang a television from one of these, but if you would have 4 to 6 of these mounted in the wall, yeah, you're good to go. You just put the screw in there and start driving it in, and when you do that, it'll kind of expand it a little bit and push it into the sheetrock even more, but then you're going to have a really secure connection. We'll put links in the description below so you can go check out all these different anchors and such, and hopefully when you've got to go and repair something with sheetrock or hold something into a wall like a safety handle, a grab handle, you'll be able to do that. This is John Young. Thanks for watching.
For more tips and how-to videos, go to weekendhandyman.com.